and the gentle breeze drifts and offers a warm embrace. And the flowers too are smiling, calling me away to a far off and peaceful place. Such a peaceful place. Sleepless in my solitude, I'm overcome by the sense of peace that I now feel inside. Tranquility's a stranger in this life of mine. Suddenly I'm in the midst of peace I know. Sitting on the mountain, I look down to find that the sun has kissed the sea. The sun has gone to sleep now, and the moon and stars will keep watching over me. Land of blissful dreams, so it feels like home to me. Let it linger on, like the stars up in the sky. Essential time of peace, where the silence holds me close and frees my soul for to face another day. Sunshine on my face now, and the gentle breeze drifts and offers a warm embrace. And the flowers too are smiling, calling me away to a far off and peaceful place. Such a peaceful place. to sleep now, and the moon and stars will keep watching over me. Watching over me.
Oh, I can hear music. Andy. What's wrong?
Of the bottom of the hello.
I've got music on my phone. Oh, sorry. So what must I do? Okay, all right.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Wamkelekile apha endawo yenkwenkwezi. This place, which the original peoples of this area called Amirodi Khais. Both of these vernacular phrases mean the place of the stars. That place of the stars is now called observatory. And perhaps that reflects the clarity with which the stars can be seen at such a place, and perhaps the extent to which the stars help us to see things more clearly. But in many ways, an observatory is that place which shows us the extent and the scope of the stars so that we understand our world more clearly. But a place where the interplay of light and focus is also part of magnifying our world and enhancing our discovery. Essentially, the world of the microscope. Welcome to this Institute of Infectious Diseases and Molecular Medicine, headquartered here in this Wolfson Pavilion, on this health science campus, which is now 110 years old, here at the University of Cape Town. This celebration today forms part of all of the events that we will be using to recognize this 110-year legacy. But at the beginning of this celebration, I do want to recognize a few people who've made some contribution to this journey to this point and continue to be part of the partnerships we enjoy. Rebecca Maserumule, Beulah Matebula, Ben Durham, and Claudina Lewis from the Department of Science and Innovation. Teng Leon Chu, champion of the African Microscopy Initiative and director, Advanced Imaging Center at the Howard Hughes facility, Genelia Research Campus. Chris Karp and Ashton Renegard from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in Seattle. Vladimir Gukasian and Stephanie Otter from the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative. Jan Ellenberg from the European Molecular Biology Laboratory. Michael Albies, from the president and CEO of Zeiss Microscopy. Seifi Kayan and Sunay Hendricks from Zeiss South Africa. Rudolf Jedletsberger, the COO from Tissue Gnostics. Liesel Zulka, Richard Gordon, Zolega Ngete, and Michelle Mulder from the South African Medical Research Council. I should have started at home, perhaps to greet the DVC of Research and Internationalization, Sue Harrison, and Linda Mtwisha, who is the Executive Director for Research, and Reno Morao, who is the COO of UCT. And also Yolanda Harley, the Acting Deputy Dean for Research here in the faculty. But in the nature of these events, there's always a recognition of legacies of the people who have gone before. And so I want to recognize the former DVC for Research, Dani Visser, a former Dean, Marion Jacobs here in the faculty, and IDM Founding Director, Wieland Geevers. I'm not sure if everybody is here, but welcome, welcome. To the members of the IDM, and particularly to Val as a director of the Institute, just to acknowledge the role that you and your colleagues have played in bringing us to this place, to the various heads of department and institutes who are here, to those who direct the professional staff systems at UCT, but to all of you who will contribute over the next day or two to an incredible journey and reflection of your work as scientists. But as I reflected a little bit on today, I just want to say a couple of things about this historic moment of collaboration and partnership. Because I think in this event today, we see this idea of an emergent African promise, something that we continually seek for. And every now and again, something happens in our environment that reminds us that we can renew our promises. But I reflected a bit on the history of the microscope from 710 BC, when Nimrod created this lens by which he could magnify things. And then a variety of things, including the Arab mathematician Alhazen, who wrote the Book of Optics, which is apparently a 7-volume treatise in itself. And then a variety of steps in reaching the point of microscopes as we've come to know them. The first Nobel Prize for microscopy was awarded in 1986 to 3 men in physics, Ernst Ruska, Gert Binnig, and Heinrich Rohrer. Looking across the room, I'm very pleased to see that the demographic of potential winners of the Nobel Prize has certainly extended beyond men. And that is another promise that we hold. Then in 1993 to 1996, the growth of the super resolution microscopy under the German physicist Stefan Hell is noted. And then the last Nobel Prize that's won for super microscopes was won by Eric Betzig, Stefan Hell, and William Morner for the development of super resolved fluorescence microscopy. But even as we think about this history that often looks like a fixed picture, I want to recognize that this African Microscopy Initiative is really the confluence of all these multiple legacies of invention and discovery, of innovation and creativity. But fundamentally for me, the emergence of a spirit of partnership, collaboration, and vision. The vision, the mission which this multi-pronged continent-wide Africa Microscopy Initiative declares in that introductory brochure is this: it combines an open access microscopy resource facility with multifaceted educational opportunities and an instrument distribution program. Its vision is propelled by the recognition that effective capacity building for microscopy in Africa hinges on the confluence of technology access, dissemination, and education. It is in this promise, in the spirit of this promise, that we gather to celebrate this evening. Welcome to our Place of the Stars. Thank you for joining us. And I want to invite Val to make her remarks of welcome too.
Hello, everybody. I have a few slides and I'm told that they are about to come. I want to just add my word of welcome to everybody. This is such a special day for me, for everybody in the Institute. And as I look around, I see so many friends and so many new faces of people with whom we are going to build such strong relationships into the future. I'm supposed to have something that progresses my slides. Is that available for me? Okay. Is it there? Thanks. So I'm just going to share with you very briefly, because there are many people here who don't know much about the IDM, just tell you something about our trajectory that led to the establishment of these new buildings, one of which houses the imaging center, which is part of AMI. Our vision of this institute, and I'm so thrilled that Emeritus Professor Wieland Geerwes is here. Wieland, this was your vision. To be a center of excellence where people work together to tackle diseases of importance on the African continent. We have a mission that is 4 elements: to do research that is leading edge and relevant to African people. We use research as the vehicle for capacity building to develop indigenous capacity. We are translational, and we try to the extent that we can to influence policy and practice. And we build partnerships, and we work with partnerships in partnership with others. And that 4th element of our mission is captured in why we are here tonight. We sat down as members of the Institute and talked about what we value. And we came up with 3 values: excellence, collaboration, and transformation, which align entirely with those of the university and the faculty in which we are administratively based, the Faculty of Health Sciences. We are a cross-faculty postgraduate research institute at this university. You can read the numbers for yourselves. We have a lot of members here. We have a new category of membership, the IDM fellows, people sitting in this phase between being postdocs and being faculty, early career researchers. We stretch across 10 academic departments and 3 faculties at this university. And we also have members who come from elsewhere, from universities and research centers across the world. Together, our member groups comprise at least 900 academic research staff, technical and administrative staff, postdocs and postgraduate students. And Because we haven't formally launched the laboratories, we're going to be 50 laboratories, but at the moment we are 48 laboratories, biosafety levels 1, 2, and 3, and these are major shared facilities. So what do we work on? We work on diseases of importance in the African continent. And these research themes fall in 5 broad areas. They are not siloed. There is a huge amount of intersection between them, but essentially we are strong in areas of tuberculosis, HIV, the intersection of the two, more recently COVID-19, other infectious diseases caused by bacteria, viruses, fungal and parasitic pathogens, as well as non-communicable diseases, particularly those that have an association with infection. So research groups come in and work bottom up, work in their own research areas. What we as an institute have worked hard to do is to build technology platforms here on the main campus here, the main administrative hub of the IDM, that provide institute-wide support. And those are 5 technology platforms or core facilities. Biosafety Level 3 laboratories up the staircase, Flow Cytometry, we do a lot of immunology here, so we have a big flow cytometry core facility. Bioinformatics and data science, an explosive area really built by Nicola Mulder with enormous funding and through the NIH in particular, as well as Wellcome Trust. Microscopy, which is the centerpiece tonight, and mass spectrometry. We use research to develop people. The entry level are Bachelor of Science or Bachelor of Medical Sciences coming in at the honors level through to master's, PhD, postdoc, and early career. We also have a significant number of clinicians who are undergoing advanced training in the Institute. We've run a number of bespoke programs, and the funders are shown on the right-hand side, to give early entry awards for people to come and do their research. And besides that, the MRC, and I'm delighted how strongly the MRC is represented tonight, the MRC and the National Research Foundation provide scholarship support and fellowship support for our students and our postdocs. In terms of research productivity and impact, just 2 simple parameters, looking at our publications shown in green and our citation count shown in pink. You can see here there have been 2 real inflection points early in the Institute, where pivotal work around HIV-associated TB was done from this Institute, and more recently through COVID-19. Our researchers on HIV and TB were able to pivot very, very rapidly, and I'm delighted that Willem Hannekom is here. He is the director of our sister institute in Durban, ARI, and Willem and Tulio de Oliveira have organized a consortium of researchers across the country who have worked and demonstrated the principle of collaboration, working together to really put South Africa on the map in COVID research. We collaborate extensively across the world. Each dot represents a collaboration between someone in the Institute and someone elsewhere. The big dots are intense collaborations, some of which have led to partnerships, formal agreements at an institutional level. Tonight is about our continent, the African continent, and you can see here our collaborative footprint across Africa. It has grown enormously and is set to grow even more over the next few years. I won't read these statistics for you. Suffice to say, the third I think is very important. 29% of the postgraduate students in the IDM come from African countries outside of South Africa, and no less than 47% of our postdocs come from other African countries. The pavilions, why are we here tonight and what enabled this? The growth trajectory that I've shared with you meant that we ran out of space. We really were crushed in terms of office area and less so laboratory area, but office space became a huge crunch. And now I must really call out Jonathan Blackburn and Daniel Duitz, and I think Daniel could be here as well, who had the vision to actually take a drone image or a Google map image and look above and saw that we actually have got 2 courtyards in the Werner Beit North Building where cars were parked. And because space is at such a premium on this campus, they came with a vision that we could actually fill those courtyards with buildings. You will see these later after we have formally opened. And coincidentally with this was the other development that occurred. Firstly, this space has enabled us to consolidate our core facilities, data analysis on one floor, mass spectrometry in one laboratory, and the centerpiece tonight, microscopy being the third. So we were going to consolidate our microscopes into this laboratory, but something else happened. What happened is that the Institute does a lot of work that we feel is a value-add activity that individual departments can't do. In other words, we run a series of programs that are cross-cutting of maximum benefit and educational professional development to our community. I want to highlight the masterclass because in March of 2017, the real hero of tonight, Teng Liang Chu, who is the director of the Advanced Imaging Center at HHMI Janelia in the US, came to UCT invited by Digby Warner, the other hero of tonight. Digby invited Teng Liang, who we call Liang, to give a masterclass in March 2017. He fell in love with Cape Town. We fell in love with him, and the rest is what happened 2 years later, little more than 2 years later. The genesis of AMI was the first Imaging Africa workshop that was held here at UCT in January. Look at the dates. I think we really lucked out. This is just as the virus had been sequenced. This was the first case of COVID in South Africa was the 6th of March of 2020. So we had a successful workshop here. Of course, the COVID struck. The rest, as we know, is history, but that did not deter Liang and Digby, who went away, particularly Liang, and wrote the vision, the grand dream of what is today the African Microscopy Initiative. So I'm going to stop there and just give some special thanks to people. Phil Mjwacha, the Director General of the Department of Science and Innovation. He unfortunately couldn't be here tonight. Rebecca, I'm very glad that you are here to represent the DSI. The reason that we received the funding to put up these buildings is to enable us to continue to host the Cape Town component of the International Center for Genetic Engineering and Biotechnology, the ICGEB. Jonathan Blackburn, actually Jonathan is the director of the Institute. I'm formally on sabbatical, so I am an imposter here tonight. Jonathan, what can I say? It has been a privilege to work with you on this project. When you see the buildings, you'll understand what must have gone into this. But the heroes of the building, Jack, Thabo, Greg, and Nigel, I think you're all here. We have phenomenal people here at UCT. This is our building team. Sean Hayden and Kirsten Moses, the architects who had the brilliance to understand how we could put up these courtyard extensions, and the Institute's admin and operations team, Celicia, Crystal De Beer, Rihanna Fredericks, and the list goes on. Nobongo is here, Olefile is here. You guys are just amazing. One of my great privileges is to work with this phenomenal group of people. From the AMI perspective, Leon, Ashton Renegab from the Gates Foundation, who is our program officer. Ashton, working with you epitomizes what it means to be in partnership. So thank you, thank you. Vlad, we've never met. I've only ever seen you on a Zoom box. It's wonderful. This is Vladimir Gukasian from Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, flown across the world to be with us tonight. Chan Zuckerberg and Gates Foundation partnered together. Michael Albiers, Rupert Ecker, Zeiss, our major partners in this initiative. I'm going to stop there and Lionel, hand over to, I think we're going to now do ribbon cutting, if I'm not mistaken. Sue, oh, Sue is going to speak. Thank you so much, everybody.
Great. Good evening, everybody. I'm Sue Harrison, DVC Research and Internationalization, and I'd really like to extend a special welcome to all of those who are here, both on the live stream and in this room. An event like this one, which involves individuals and organizations from across Africa and around the world, offers us insight into the significance of a truly equitable collaborative partnership between health researchers and professionals in the global health and in the global north and those in the global south. It gives me great pleasure to note the care that has gone into the two events that we're celebrating today. the official opening of the IDM extension, and the launch of the African Microscopy Initiative, or AMI. Both are examples of the principle that make a lasting and beneficial difference in people's lives. African research partnerships must be driven by African needs, and they must seek African solutions to those needs. Equitable and sustainable research collaboration must be based not just on financial resources, but also equally on the resources of human capital and on-the-ground experience that African-based researchers can bring to research in their own backyard. Without such collaboration, we risk extending poverty and inequality by slowing down research into the challenges that prevail in Africa. We compromise opportunities for African researchers and scientists to be exposed to and contribute to state-of-the-art technologies and techniques, and to apply them in the African context. And we limit the efficacy of established healthcare innovations, even when they are intended to address health issues that are predominant in Africa. For example, UCT's Drug Discovery and Development Center has identified health risks in African patients that are treated with some Western developed pharmaceuticals because dosing regimes are optimized for patients who tend to be Caucasian. Although Africans account for 15% of the global population and 25% of the world disease burden, they account for only 2.5% of clinical trials in the pharmaceutical industry. But the genetic differences of Africans can change the way the drug interacts with patient metabolism. And as the Health Policy Watch news website says, professionals in the health sciences sector are seeing similar trends across nearly all medical sciences, from treatment design to vaccine development. The best way to account for the genetic, economic, and social conditions of patients and healthcare systems in Africa is to involve practitioners and researchers who are also working here. Working in partnership with other research organizations and scientific institutions is central to our mission at the University of Cape Town. Our transformative purpose, as expressed in our institutional strategy document, Vision 2030, is to unleash the potential of us all as Africans to help to build a fair and just society. And an important example is in the Institute of Infectious Disease and Molecular Medicine, IDM, that Val has introduced us to, and we don't need introduction to here. Since its establishment in 2004, IDM has created research and outreach programs that indeed unleash African talent and build skills within the health sciences, so that African experts can create African solutions to African problems. We celebrate the opening of the IDM extension as a sign of past growth and a forerunner to the additional growth of the future. We also celebrate the launch of the AMI Imaging Center, and UCT is committed to ensuring that the benefits of this groundbreaking microscopy initiative will spread right across Africa. While we are proud to have this important facility on our campus, we view the AMI as an African resource to serve the entire continent. Its purpose and the measure of success is to serve our research colleagues throughout Africa. Within this context, it is important to note that UCT is an active member of international networks that provide valuable platforms for the results of initiatives like the IDM and the AMI. UCT is a founding member of the African Research Universities Alliance, or ARUA. It's a network of 16 of the continent's leading universities. It is currently developing local research collaborations through 13 centers of excellence, 2 of which are led from UCT. And these are building capacity as we find solutions to the development problems of Africa. This has led opportunities for new and interesting partnerships with universities around the world that have expertise and interest in working in institutions on the continent in these thematic areas. We also belong to the International Alliance of Research Universities, the Worldwide Universities Network, the Australia-Africa University Network, and the Southern African Nordic Center, all networks where UCT can support global knowledge exchange between the continent and the rest of the world. And we put considerable effort into levering these networks, both within and outside Africa, and ensuring that our researchers have the opportunities through them. UCT is also proud to have joint degree partnership agreements with a number of universities in Chile, in France, in Australia, in Wales, in the Netherlands, in Germany, and in the United Kingdom. We're seeing niche areas developing as a result of these collaborations, which is a strong encouragement to grow our existing partnerships and to pursue new ones. Scientists recognize the value of working together to overcome the hazards humanity faces. For example, the International Science Council, which is led by Emeritus Professor Daya Reddy of UCT's Center for Research in Computational and Applied Mathematics, comprises close to 180 science councils, academies, and organizations around the world. It was founded to encourage such collaboration, to stimulate and support international scientific research and scholarship, communicate science that is relevant to international policy issues, and enable science to contribute more effectively to major issues. These collaborative partnerships are essential to achieve the UN Sustainable Development Goals, as well as the African Union's Agenda 2063, and to correct imbalances that have fueled wicked problems of global proportion. Many of UCT's research partnerships focus on the complex problems that are closely tied to meeting the 17 SDGs and Agenda 2063. And the AMI is an example of a collaboration that is geared towards Africa's needs. Its multi-tiered approach combines an open access microscopy resource facility with multifaceted educational opportunities, an instrument distribution program, and a project incubation center. The combination of education with instrument dissemination aims to create deployable critical mass of microscopy instruments and trainers who will empower life scientists in Africa working on critical research areas. So on behalf of UCT, I take this opportunity to thank the major sponsors of AMI, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative. I'd also like to thank Dr. Ten Lung Chu, Director of the Advanced Imaging Center at HHMI Janelia, for conceiving the dream of the AMI and working tirelessly with colleagues to bring this dream to fruition. The African science community is a vital pillar in combating the threats of global health, food security, and environmental conservation. Yet researchers throughout the continent are commonly overlooked for well-intentioned technology dissemination programs. And this marginalizes a large and important proportion of the global scientific community, denying the world a vital opportunity. To remedy this glaring inequality requires significant and sustained scientific research investment. It also spotlights the need to pave the way for African scientists to easily tap into many global scientific resources that are not currently accessible in an equitable way. This is especially the case when it comes to microscopy, a resource-intensive but highly scalable research method that can be adapted to study a wide range of biological questions and length scales. The equipment that is housed in the AMI Imaging Center will be free to access with the active financial support of our generous sponsors, free to access for qualifying researchers and projects across the continent, providing world-class research infrastructure to our African colleagues and building equity in African science. This is a step that is long overdue on the continent that has provided such wealth of mineral and natural resources to the world over past centuries. It is a bold venture that will enhance capacity for research, that will enhance and preserve the lives of Africans and help them to contribute to the world's future. The AMI represents a critical investment of infrastructure, people, training to enhance advanced biomedical research in regions most affected by many endemic infectious and non-communicable diseases. We've already begun to make this facility known to our colleagues across the continent, as the first meeting of the African Bioimaging Consortium has just been hosted in Cape Town over the past few days. In fact, the ABIC members are with us this evening, and we're working together for the benefit of the entire continent of more than 1.3 billion people. So in conclusion, I invite you all to join me in celebrating not just the innovation and hard work that has been invested in making these facilities a reality, but the opportunity that has been opened up across Africa by the generous donation of key participants from around the world. Thank you.
There's a gap in the program now for us to open the center behind you here. So please make sure that you have a drink with you as we, the acting director of the IDM, Blackburn, Sue Harrison, the DVC for Research and Internationalization, and I will go across there just to propose a toast as we cut the ribbon today. Jonathan Blackburn. We will start off by cutting the ribbon here, and then we will move across there to propose a toast once everybody has a glass in hand. Colleagues, can I check that everybody's got a glass of something, whatever it is you choose to cheers with? So colleagues, I just want to propose a toast to the African Microscopy Institute, to science and the questions that it helps us answer, to partnerships of respect and the people who reach hands together to embark on them, and then to the promise of a brighter African future. Hear, hear. And the host for the second part of the program will be Dr. Jacobs. We'll give you just a few minutes to move around before we start with the second half.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to request your attention in this direction again. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to, for us to be able to proceed with the formalities of the evening so we can then continue with the celebrations. It's absolutely fantastic to be here and to be part of a celebration of such two prestigious events. Prof. Mizrahi mentioned and introduced the Imaging Africa workshop during her during her address, and I want to use it as a starting point to provide some context to everything that's happening this week. The Imaging Africa workshop that was run as the brainchild of Digby Warner, Prof. Teng Leong Chu, as well as my colleague Mike Reicke, was really a seeding nucleus of driving microscopy capacity and development within South Africa that we're seeing some of the fruits of tonight. We've just come from a the first in-person 3-day community meeting of the African Bioimaging Consortium, which came out of that workshop because we saw that there was a need not only for access to training and infrastructure, but to a sense of community and support for scientists within Africa. And now we have the opportunity to celebrate the other branch of what we're doing with the launch of the African Microscopy Initiative and our imaging center. So to get that kicked off, I have the great pleasure of introducing you to my colleague and my mentor, I would actually say, as well as the champion of the African Microscopy Initiative. Some might refer to him as an unstoppable force who has yet to meet with an immovable object. But I would like to call Dr. Teng Leong Chu to the stage to speak to us.
Thank you, Karen, for that wonderful introduction. First of all, let me pinch myself just to make sure that this is not a dream. I've been dreaming about this day for 3 years now, since I was last year teaching the Imaging Africa workshop. And I still remember very clearly one evening, Sonia and I were just sitting on a Zeiss crate with our feet dangling there, wondering what we're going to do. Something even bigger, even more meaningful, even more impactful for Africa. We were just brainstorming ideas and on the very, very long flight back to the United States. You know, as I always say, you tend to hallucinate on a long flight like this. And that was when the idea of AMI sort of came along. So thank you so very, very much for involving me here in this very, very momentous occasion for Africa. And as a microscopist, I have to show a movie. So I'm going to start with this little thing. This is actually the primordial germline of a zebrafish. And the reason why I want to show this is because this is actually a group of cells that very boldly march forward during the development. And every so often they will left behind a node that's called the neuromast. And those little nodes here and there start to send the environmental cue, and then they become the nerve centers, and then they actually coordinate the development of the entire system. I really cannot think of a better analogy from a biological standpoint of what we are trying to achieve here with Africa Microscopy Initiative. However, the technology that is required for us to be able to actually watch something like this in action is actually not trivial. And more importantly, the expertise that is required to run it and the analytical power that is required to do that is also extremely important. And you can see that now we section it into a single cell. We can now actually look at the tug of war among all the cells and even quantify the biomechanical forces. So the idea of putting all of these resources into the hand of Africa Microscopy Initiative is basically what crystallizes the army. Okay. I thought you guys would like it. And Rachel, this is the wizardry of Rachel Lee, who is our data analyst at the Advanced Imaging Center at Genelia. And so this is why we're here today. AMI For those of you who speak French, you know that this is also the French word for friend. So first of all, this is a tip of the hat for almost 40% of the African population who speak French. And more importantly, this is immediately a very important message to Africa, that this is truly a gesture of friendship through microscopy for the entire continent. And so what you have heard so far is actually only a single pillar of the entire Africa Microscopy Initiative, which is the imaging center, which will actually open to the entire Africa continent. Visitors who have their proposal accepted will come here. We will pay for their lodging, we will pay for their travel, we will pay for the cost of the experiment. And this will allow Africa scientists from all over the continent to be able to actually pursue something that they have never been able to pursue before. However, it is also very important to know that the exact same imaging center can also serve as an incubator. Every once in a while, there is going to be projects that come along that could potentially be extremely impactful. And this imaging center will actually allow that project the time to mature, to develop, so that this project may actually go on even further to other imaging centers in the world, which I'm going to talk a little bit, and you're going to hear from Jan Ellenberg as well, where even more advanced technology in the world awaits them. You have heard a little bit about Imaging Africa. So this is Imaging Africa is basically the event that started it all. Every time we run an Imaging Africa workshop, there are 24 openings. Many of you didn't know that the very first time when we run the Imaging Africa workshop, more than 700 people apply for 24 positions. You cannot get a stronger message that we hit something extremely important and something bigger has to be done. And in fact, if there is any precipitating event that sort of seeded the idea of AMI, is the Imaging Africa workshop. This is the second time we're going to run it in Cape Town, and hopefully we will be able to take this workshop to other cities in the world, in Africa, and let other community to be able to drive it and participate it as well, and so that it will continue to not only benefit everybody through an educational perspective, but help other community get involved and be able to run a workshop as well. And in fact, in 2 days, the second Imaging Africa workshop will take place here. We have another 24 students coming from all over Africa. So we're really looking forward to it. So there is no moment of rest for us on the AIC team. And we're also going to run a webinar series on various vignettes of microscopy knowledge. Now, there are also, of course, a lot of webinars, series, educational material online these days. We purposely want to create one called Microscopy Matters, depending on how you want to interpret those two words, precisely because I think in Africa, representation matters immensely. And we want this webinar to actually be by the African scientific community, for the African scientific community. And the last two pillar of Africa Microscopy Initiative is actually something quite interesting. The very first one is called Partners in Teaching, or PITCH. So this is actually a fellowship program that is open for the whole world, not just Africa. And why we purposely open up for the rest of the world is that we actually want to create teaching partners from between an African imaging scientists and their counterparts worldwide, especially those in the early career stage microscopists. And the idea is that all the applicants will be received, and then we will select the top few candidates from the international pool as well as the African pool, and then they will be paired and they will be mentored by people who are more experienced in running the workshop, international workshop. And when the mentor think they're ready, the pair will actually go to the home institution or the home city of the Africa counterpart, and they will run this workshop together with the help of the mentor, so that not only young imaging scientists don't feel intimidated that they have to do everything themselves, they have somebody else to lean on, and they also have an opportunity to develop lifelong friendship through this initiative. And yes, we're going to have a lot of microscope downstairs, which you will see in a few minutes. But having 8 or 9 microscopes in one city is not going to solve the entire microscopy challenge in a continent as big and diverse as Africa. So one of the things that we looking forward to is to partner with our industry partners such as ZEISS to actually take some of the instruments that are pre-owned, or nowadays they call pre-loved. So some of these pre-loved instruments, the company will service it up to the level where they can actually support it anywhere in Africa. And then these instruments will be brought into Africa, and so that even in more remote areas of the continent, people will start have access to this instrument. And I think this is a great way for us to continue to pave an unbroken chain of accessibility to microscopy all the way from very remote area to a metropolitan like Cape Town. And so this whole 6 pillars basically constitute AMI. And I also want to take this opportunity to really say that even though I kind of cooked up this idea while I'm hallucinating, this really is an imaging center for Africa by African, and I cannot be prouder to hand the ownership to Digby Werner and also Vile to basically be in charge of the Africa Microscopy Initiative. And I also think that this is a momentous occasion, a great opportunity for South Africa to play the leadership role. When you go down there and you see all this shiny instrument, yes, they are impressive. I'm impressed. But microscopy, just microscope alone cannot do everything. We need to invest in people. We need to invest in more people who will be able to run these instruments, who will be able to continue to disseminate just the technological and know-how to help the African community to continue to make the best of the instruments that they have, either here or anywhere else locally. I also think that this is a seed for a very, very important worldwide microscopy alliance. I saw quite a few key people here. We have Jean Salamero, who represents France Bioimaging. Here's Jean. And then I also see Spencer Short, who came from Institut Pasteur in South Korea. We also have Jan Ellenberg, who represent the Global Bioimaging. And we also have the Director General of Eurobioimaging, Jan Eriksson. I don't know where you are. So these are all very important open access platform in the world. And I think we also have to start thinking about in Africa, how we can share research resources more strategically and more effectively, because imaging instruments are expensive and expertise are hard to come by. And this will be the very, very first step of how South Africa will lead this effort for the entire continent. And to sort of get this whole thing jump-started, we have actually formed an initial alliance of 3 sister imaging centers. Obviously, we're going to have AMI Imaging Center in the southwest corner of Africa. And then I recently just came back from Montevideo, Uruguay. And from there, we have already formed another alliance with the Institut Pasteur in Montevideo. And then, so together, we hope to use this alliance to start bringing a lot of the Africa project, not only bring it to completion here in Africa, but also if more advanced technology is required, that this can pave the way for them to go to other places as well. And so here are the 2 examples, which you're going to hear from Jan in a minute. These are 2 examples of 2 imaging centers that awaits you. One of them is the newly minted imaging center at EMBL. And then another one, more of a older player in the field, the Advanced Imaging Center at Genelia. These are all open access instruments. And so the world is waiting, and the world is anticipating, and the world is cheering for Africa. And last but not least, I definitely need to thank UCT and IDM for being such an awesome host to provide a lot of ground support and all the necessary local strategic partnership and institutional backing for AMI to come into fruition, especially Vile, especially Digby, and Also Karen and Mike, for especially Mike, who have basically, while he was still a fellow at the Advanced Imaging Center, continue to bring the importance of capacity building in Africa to my attention. And also Jonathan Blackburn for securing just an absolutely beautiful space for the imaging center downstairs. And I certainly want to thank the partners and Zeiss, who has played an absolutely fantastic role, and also Tissuenostics, and also Tokai Hit, where's our Japanese industry partner, who has also sponsors one of the partner in teaching fellowship, and we hope more to come. And last but not least, I really have to thank my home institution for closing one eye, sometimes two eyes, while I'm running around trying to build this thing instead of doing my actual day job at Genelia. And then also my AIC team, some of them are here who will always be there with me. So with that, thank you very much. Congratulations, everyone.
Leon, thank you very much for that. I don't think, and I'm sure it's clear from his address, that the role of Leon's, the extent of Leon's role in this cannot be overstated, and we owe a lot to you and to your team. You're right in releasing you from a lot. So thank you to them as well. It's my pleasure now to introduce Dr. Jan Ellenberg. Dr. Ellenberg has made many contributions to the cell biology and bioimaging fields. The majority of these were made at the European Molecular Biology Laboratory, or EMBL, where he is senior scientist and head of the cell biology and biophysics unit of the EMBL Imaging Center. His major research contributions are fairly wide-ranging, but we'll keep them succinct as in the area of cell division and nuclear organization. Because what I want to highlight is that to achieve the critical aim of his research, he has developed and applied advanced microscopy methods across scales from molecular to organismal. And his research has played a leading role in large EU-wide efforts, such as systems biology, microscopy automation, and computational image analysis. Recognizing the important role of new imaging technologies for the life sciences, he has coordinated major efforts to build up research infrastructures that make the latest imaging technologies openly accessible to researchers across Europe and beyond. The results of his research, his technology development, and the work in research infrastructure and policy efforts has been communicated in numerous platforms, and he's made data resources publicly available, including a new open access public bioimage data repository, the Bioimage Archive. He's coordinated building a pan-European research infrastructure called Eurobioimaging ERIC, and led the creation of the EMBL Imaging Center as well. So I think, given that rich resume, it is an absolute privilege to have him here to address us at the opening of IME this evening. And Dr. Ellenberg, I'd like to welcome you to the podium.
Thank you very much, Karen, for the very generous introduction. It's really a pleasure to be back in Cape Town, to be back in Africa after many years of discussions with colleagues here at UCT, colleagues at Stellenbosch, mostly in the framework of the global bioimaging project that Leon already alluded to. But really, the effort is to try to connect all the imaging infrastructures in the world to synergize as much as we can to really make technology available. And I have had no personal role in the creation of the Advanced Microscopy Initiative, but I think the efforts we started in 2006 in Europe and in 2015 on the global scale have formed the network and the launch pad for initiatives like this. And I'm really thrilled to see the creation of the AMI and also the ambition of ABIC to again disseminate the spirit of shared science infrastructure for the better of humanity across the African continent. So I want to say a few words and share a few slides about what building imaging infrastructure means to enable what I think will be the next generation of transformative life science in the world. Life science is the discipline of the next century. I think all of our societies can profit most from the advancement in life science. And imaging is one of the key disruptive technology platforms that we need in order to do that. Now, before I say that, I want to briefly say where I come from. I provide a little bit of a European and then later on a slightly global perspective on infrastructure building. And my day job, unlike Leon's running a big imaging center, my day job is actually running a research department. But my night job is building infrastructures so that such research can also be done elsewhere, not just at EMBL. EMBL may not be as known in South Africa as it is in Europe. You can think of it as the CERN of molecular biology. It is the intergovernmental organization for life science in Europe. And so it has a mission to develop technology and a mission to provide those technologies as services to its member states. We are funded by 27 European countries directly from the research budget. So they expect us to deliver to them the most relevant technologies for the research and the national systems. And so our current program for the next 5 years, EMBL wants to connect molecular understanding, and molecules are the digital currency of life. Only if we understand life molecularly can we predict it rationally, to planetary health, to really all the challenges we have as societies today: loss of biodiversity, antimicrobial resistance, climate change, adaptation of life to climate change, food security, emergent pathogens. And many of these problems were alluded to earlier in presentations today. Now, in order to do that, we think we need to connect molecular understanding to many fields that don't yet by default operate molecularly. And that are fields like ecology, epidemiology, zoology, botany, engineering, theory, infection biology, and so forth. So what do we need to make these links to other disciplines? And so here we think we are in an era where the most transformative technology in life science is actually imaging technology. And it's maybe comparable only to 3 other technology transformations that life science have undergone in history. The first clearly was biochemistry, when we realized living systems are also composed of chemical components. That was a revolution. We could understand what is the chemical composition of living matter. Now for all of us, that's an old hat and like running water. Now then came the molecular biology revolution, and that's where my home organization, EMBL, was founded in the 60s and 70s. We understood it's all encoded in DNA. And pretty quickly, we learned how to manipulate DNA. That again was a big transformation, but it was an age where people had to work on single genes, single proteins, maybe a single simple organism like E. coli, but that was it. You couldn't actually understand the complexity of life. The next big transformation came with omics, analytical capabilities where all the components of living systems could be analyzed. And today, again, like running water at the single cell level, we can get the genomes, the transcriptomes, the metabolomes, the proteomes out of cells. So we have huge inventories. Pretty soon of every cell in my body, we'll have an inventory of all these molecules. We still don't understand how the body functions from that. And a key step towards that is to put this molecular inventory back together in space and in time. Because living systems are alive, they operate in 3-dimensional space in a physical environment, and they live over time. So unless we put molecular knowledge in space and time, we will never understand how life works. And the technologies that can do that are imaging technologies. They now allow to put things back together and understand a dynamic puzzle, which is really the magic of life. So why is that now happening? Microscopy, and we heard that earlier today, is one of the oldest technologies in life science. You know, from old Egyptian times, lenses were used for a long, long time. We have had disruptive technology changes in the last 20 years. And they now allow microscopes no longer to just see what shape do we have and what color are we, but rather see the molecules inside directly. So we have now electron microscopes that can determine the atomic structure of molecules in situ, in a cell that I take out of my mouth and freeze it. And we have light microscopes that can see those same molecules moving and doing their job, as long as I keep that cell alive. And that's amazing. We can see the molecular machinery at work in situ, and we have new disruptive technologies on the horizon from intravitreal imaging and X-ray microscopy that will allow to do this up to the scale of a whole human body. So that's incredible. We have technologies that really change how we do our business as life scientists. These technologies are not easily set up. Very expensive machines, very rare expertise to actually be able to use them and deploy them for research questions. So if we want to achieve this, to really understand organisms and ecosystems down to the level of molecular machines. So we make them predictable and we understand how they react to changes, to disease and to environmental changes. We need to have all these technologies available for life scientists in an easy way so they can integrate the data and extract the knowledge that they need. Whether you're interested at the organismal scale, the ecosystem scale, the pathogen scale, or at the structure scale, it no longer really matters because you need to combine all these things to understand how life works. So how to do this? Create infrastructure. Leon already alluded to that. Like in Janelia at EMBL, we created a large open access service center. It's open to the world. You're all welcome to look at it and see if your projects can be supported there. Once they have incubated and matured here, and maybe there's one piece of equipment missing, you can come there and do it. But the key is, again, not one center that delivers the latest tech. It's really to provide high-level expertise by skilled research infrastructure staff, and we need many more of these colleagues. I've met again many here in South Africa today. They are doing an amazing job and their work is not sufficiently recognized or rewarded. We need to innovate the technologies together with the industry partners so we can move faster to make the technology do what life science needs. And we need to train the whole community of scientists so they can use these tools and really accelerate their research output. So that means projects don't just need access to a microscope. They actually need support in the full cycle. They need to learn how the biological system has to be prepared for the technology and how you understand the data and extract the knowledge. And all of that needs high-level technical support. And that, again, cannot be done by one center. So in Europe, and John Eriksson is here as the Director General of the Euro Bioimaging Infrastructure Network, we have created together over the last 10 years, a large network of all leading European facilities in most European countries that provide exactly this open access that also the EMBL Imaging Center is providing. So scientists in Europe now very quickly find the place where they can get the training and where they can get the technology to solve their problems. And I'm really thrilled to see the beginning of this now here today for Africa with the African Bioimaging Consortium and a first focus center where you provide the excellence so people can get trained and this can be disseminated. But this doesn't happen in isolation in Europe, and it doesn't happen in isolation in America and in Africa. It really happens in a global community. And so I want to end on the global perspective. If the slides will go to it, here it is, that there is in fact already a global network of the imaging infrastructure communities. It encompasses all major continents. We have partner infrastructures in North America, in South America, in Africa, in India, in Europe, in Australia, in Japan, and also in Asia. And so this is really a growing global community that constantly shares technology, constantly shares how to address problems quickly, where to train people, and where to get access to what expertise and what technology. And this has a huge added value. And I want to end on just summarizing what the added value is, because I think individual centers, as excellent as they can be, Janelia, EMBL, AMI here, they can't deal with the demand of life science. There are hundreds of thousands of life scientists that need these technologies. They will not all come to UCT. They will not all come to Janelia or all come to EMBL. We need to enable and empower the community. And so that means we need engagement by the national and continental science funding systems into infrastructure for life science at a scale that really translates into achievements globally. And so what then really is the added value that imaging infrastructure has for the people that should invest in it? For the scientists, I think is obvious. They get access to the services they need. They can produce their data in a way they can share it and it can be reanalyzed. They have new opportunities for research and collaborations. And of course, we train the next generation of life scientists. All of this has been said, and this will happen here, and that's amazing. But there is not just benefit for the people who use infrastructure. There's benefits for the people who run them, the facility staff. They need longer term and better career paths and better recognition by their host universities. They need to network with each other and become visible as really the key enabling people that make all of this happen. And they benefit a lot from sharing experience and standards, how to exactly do something, not reinventing the wheel, moving on faster, and develop new applications. All the time they are presented with challenges they don't know how to handle, and they find a solution. And the next facility can learn from them. But maybe most importantly, in this round, where many industry representatives are here and also many representatives of funders, both public and private are here, is to talk about the added value for those two groups. I think for industry, this direct in-depth contact with the academics to develop the latest applications for their technologies in life science is extremely valuable. It opens new markets, new communities that traditionally don't use microscopy that now use it because of the disruptive technology changes, and use their infrastructures as sites for early adoption of new methods and for innovation and development of new products or spinning out new companies. And this is happening. This has happened at Janelia, it's happened at Amble, it will happen here. Maybe the strategically most important is the funders. This has been made possible by very generous donations and gifts, and it's amazing to get this started in such a fantastic environment. But the mission is long-term. The mission is to train a generation of scientists and enable the research they will do in 10, 20 years. And that means sustained investment in infrastructure. Technologies change. Our problems become bigger and bigger at the moment in life science. We need to build the basis for this. So coordinating and sharing the investment in infrastructure by knowing the national and the international landscape, where is what technology available? How can we synergize and exchange expertise and users? How can we, with the best national and international research as quickly as possible, how can we retain and train the best scientists in our system by providing these technologies? And recruit also from other countries. That's really the added value of having a cutting edge infrastructure. And so I really see this as an amazing start, but that's what it is, a start. It will need buy-in over a long time from the national funding systems, and it will need investment in other places. And so I hope really that this becomes a beacon, it becomes the spearhead of that development, and it will work fantastically. I'm absolutely convinced with the people who have contributed to it, but it should grow, and it should really go as a positive wave across the whole continent to enable science in all of Africa. And so I'm really thrilled to be here. It's a personal pleasure to see many old friends and colleagues that have made this happen. And I congratulate all of you to the courage to do this and to the generosity of those that stand behind it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Dellenberg. I now have the rather unusual pleasure of re-welcoming someone back to the podium. I'm going to let Leon tell you why.
You guys think you can get rid of me? I actually forgot one slide, a very important one, which is to thank the funder. Whew. I wanted, for just a moment of seriousness, and AMI would not have been possible without the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative and the Gates Foundation. And more importantly, many of you probably would have guessed, this AMI is not responding to any competing program that these two funding agencies put out. This is basically, we come up with a program, we are trying to convince the funder to support it. And so I applaud the Gates Foundation and as well as CZI for actually listening to scientists and just be receptive and just be responsive. And I think that is something very rare and needs to be duplicated significantly more often everywhere in the world. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
That actually presents a very easy segue for me. Having acknowledged the funders, I have the pleasure of acknowledging the industry partners who have supported AMI from the get-go. You've heard from Leon already, the two microscopy companies that have contributed significantly, not just to stocking a lab, but actually making a dream become a reality. And so I would like to start first by welcoming the global CEO of ZEISS, Dr. Michael Albies, to the podium for a short address.
Yeah, thanks, Karen. It's actually tough to speak after Leon and Jan, but I'll try. So first of all, I need to say that my Zeiss colleagues who worked with the team all the time and myself were extremely proud to be part of this initiative, to be able to support this initiative with our instruments, you will see later, but also following up with rolling this out to a broader research community in Africa, actually. I think this is the seed, and it was said several times, the seed is here in South Africa, but it should span somewhere else. So normally when I go on business trips, my kids ask, where are you going? And I say, oh, I go to the US or to UK or wherever. And what are you doing there? And I say, well, I meet customers and talk to Zeiss people and talk to suppliers. And they say, okay, go. Yeah. So this time it was really different. So when they asked me, what do you do today? I said, well, I'm traveling to Africa. And what do you do there? And I said, we try to make a small contribution to something really with purpose. And that's really different. So we got in a big discussion with my kids why this is important. And my kids are 20, 18, and 16. So there was a long discussion. I think that's actually the most purposeful business trip I ever made. And I really want to thank all the individuals who had the power and the vision actually and the energy to bring this alive. Of course, it needs funders, it needs partners, but it needs a few individuals who have a network and to drive this. So thanks to everyone who was mentioned today and who was not mentioned today, who are the people behind this whole initiative. So, okay, now I have to say a few words about Zeiss as well. I'm representative of Zeiss. So Zeiss is a company not as old as the first lenses in Egypt, but nearly. So Zeiss turned 175 years last year, and it all started with microscopy. So the DNA of Zeiss is microscopy, actually. And until now, it has grown to an optical company, but microscopy is still at the heart. And I would say microscopy today is more important than it has ever been. And we see this in market growth, in new applications. We see how we tackle, and it was mentioned before, the mega trends of this world, which is actually aging society. And I think a big part of the research goes into diseases and health issues, but also resource shortages. So not only life science, but also material science. And we are really happy to support Africa here to solve these problems, the African megatrend problems, with African scientists, with our systems, new systems here, pre-owned systems, or pre-loved, I love this, pre-loved systems in the future elsewhere. So again, thanks very much for making this possible. We are just a supplier and try to help. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Albitz. And I'd like to acknowledge all of your Zeiss colleagues, as you refer to them, that have been an absolute pleasure to work with in the process of making this imaging center reality. So a round of applause to them, I think, would be appropriate as well. We do have a second industry partner, and that is Tissuenostics, the second company who bought into the vision of AMI and the Imaging Center. And we have double representation from them here today. We have the team of their local distributors, MIT, Maggie and her team, and we welcome you. And I would like to welcome the Tissuenostics Chief Operating Officer, Dr. Rudolf Jettelsberger, to the podium for a brief address.
So I have a terrible burden upon my shoulders today. As far as I'm aware, I'm the last speaker. So I'm the only one who stands in between you and the proper celebrations. So I promise I will be brief, if you allow me to introduce Tissuenostics just for a brief moment. 25 years ago, 3 students at the University of Vienna had a unique problem. They were tasked of counting cells within a tissue sample. That's all they did. It had very little to do with the actual research question. When they complained about their supervisor about this, he told them, well, if you are lacking the proper tools, invent them. So this is what they did. Now, Tissuenostics is celebrating the 20th anniversary next year. We are operating around the world globally at the moment. And the answer of the supervisors to the founders of Tissuenostics became our mission statement, handing researchers the tools they need to achieve their research goals, to answer the research questions, and to excel in their fields. So how wonderful is it that we are able to be industry partner of this wonderful project today? I think I can hardly put it in words how proud everyone at Tissue Agnostics is. In Vienna, around the world, everyone from Tissue Agnostics is actually more or less connected live today, just because we are so happy to be part of this wonderful initiative. I would like to especially thank Mike Reicke and Karen Jacobs, as well as Digby Warner, who have been excellent collaborators already, and I'm looking very much forward to work with them in the future as well. But it's enough about Tissue Agnostics. It's not about Tissue Agnostics today. It's about you. 20 years ago, Tissue Agnostics was founded, and I can hardly imagine 20 years from now what fruits this wonderful initiative is bringing. I want to thank you especially, Dr. Leong, for inviting us to be part of this wonderful project. And with that, I think enough has been said about Tissue Agnostics, and I think we can move on to the informal celebrations. Thank you very much.
I find myself caught slightly short because I don't have a drink in my hand. So I'm going to do something I hope you'll forgive me for. I'm going to hold up a bottle of water. But I would like to propose a toast. We have heard this evening from a number of incredible international partners, from research, from community building. We have partners here from global, thank you, Liam. A second partner, that is my colleague Liam, who will be running the mass spectroscopy lab next door to us. So another partner that we can claim for AMI, thank you. A toast to international collaborations, to partnerships, to determination, hard work, grit and vision, and a thank you to all of you for coming here this evening to celebrate the start of a building, the start of something new and exciting for Africa. And I'll leave it at that. Now, there are a few of us who are going to wander off for a few moments because we have a fancy new sign outside our lab that we're going to go unveil. And then we would love to welcome all those interested to please come down and take a look. It's an amazing lab, the product of everyone's very hard work, and we would love for you to see it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.